All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today here. So markets here are fractionally higher, with the exception of the Russell 2000. That is actually red here. Does not tell the whole story though, right? So up 32 basis points blindly. That's just a routine run-of-the-mill day here. But take a look at the volatility this morning. So obviously we had CPI number. Everyone knows by now. It came in at 3.2, which is slightly better than expected. It was consensus was around 3.3. But again, last month it was 3.1. So the whole narrative of, okay, inflation, the Fed's killed inflation, the Fed's going to start cutting rates, that type of thing is kind of up in the air right now. There's lots of chatter here. Fed funds futures pricing in cuts as early as March 2024. But there's lots of chatter going on. There's lots of mixed signals here. Take a look at bonds. The 2-year here is red. So again, that is, kind of in line with what you'd expect with inflation being sticky. There's the 2-year, or that's Bitcoin there. But there's your 2-year yield there, still holding up at 4.82. We'll talk about that in a minute. So lots of mixed signals right now as far as kind of the macro type direction here. Is not macro direction, but actually the macro workings of the market, I should say. But price action right now on the spiders, we're all over the map today. However, to me, until proven otherwise, it's pretty clear. I mean, you have a down move, and now you're kind of consolidating sideways. If this consolidates sideways more, it's going to set up for another push down. It does look kind of like a bear base to me here. We did put in a decent kind of chop zone right here for about 3 to 4 weeks, about a month between June and July. So it's not just going to break through that. And again, like I said yesterday, I would say 440 is kind of like max downside here in the near term. There's also a gap fill at 442.46. But the longer this consolidates here, let's say we chop around for another week or so, I would say this support's going to become minor. And to me, the bulls here really kind of needed to show something today, and they had a chance. We had a gap up. We had a gap and go set up, and we couldn't get through 451, 451 to 50-ish. And we sold off all day into the 2 o'clock time frame, and now we are getting a bounce here. Again, lots of volatility going on in this market here, but bottom line is, to me, on the daily, it looks more like a bear flag. Yeah, 20 MA rejection too, so it looks more like a bear flag. It does look like we're setting up one more push down. The question is, how soon does it happen? If it happens, in the next couple of days, I would say this support here will probably get pierced, and we can get a good bid off of that. It's certainly possible. But the more that this base is in this area, in this range, like if we held up into OPEX potentially, which is certainly a possibility, then I would say that this support can get broken, and you could go down, your next level would be probably right around 430. So there's that little chop zone, and then of course that previous pivot high, the 100 period moving average there on the daily, weekly. You've got, well, we're a little bit below that now, but I would say that's a little bit below there, but 20-week moving average also is an area which, if we look at the triple Qs, which again have still remained on the weaker side, big tech's still lagging here. If you break this area, then you've got this big trend line down in that area. So those are some possible targets there. If we do hold up, again, there's your resistance still short term on the Qs at 380 level. That's a big key point of interest in that 20 moving average too. If you can get above this gap fill and then go a gap window and fill that gap, then I think you go higher. But right now, we've just kind of walked down. No panic, no fear. It's not like we're seeing the VIX explode or anything. It has pushed up nicely, but we're just seeing it kind of hold up. It's not like you're seeing this rush into safety just yet. So it does look still like there is some complacency there. And again, we've hammered on that 50 moving average 3 days in a row. If this is bullish, for the first time touching that 50 MA since March, that should be rocket fuel. We should be able to really push off of that, but we haven't done that, and we've hit it for the last 3 days. So to me, I'm thinking there's one more push down here, and my kind of target there is that it's still that 440 handle there on the spiders. Again, direction after that depends on how quickly we get there, of course. But if, again, tomorrow, Monday, we get there, then I think we get a bid off of that. But if this continues basing here, and it's going to get more on the minor side there. But as far as the macro right now, there's a lot of cross currents, a lot of things going on. I'm not really willing to stick my neck out and make a prediction on that either way. What I will say is that yields are holding up, and I expect them to hold up for a long time. Does that mean that bonds can't get a bid? No. I mean, bonds certainly can get a bid, but I think there are higher floors in the yield market. So again, lots of cross currents going on here, but it does look like, obviously, as we've mentioned over the last couple of weeks, we predicted this, that inflation would stick, and that is the case right now. So again, we'll leave it at that. Keep it simple, one day at a time. Right now, we're just looking at this pattern here on the spiders below the 20 MA and above this area. Gives off more of a bear flag look than anything, and then this area is your support. But again, each day that we don't go and test that, it gives the bears more kind of momentum, right? We're kind of like coiling in this area to potentially break that. So that's kind of my thesis currently. And again, we'll take it one day at a time. I'm very interested to see where we close the week. Right now, we basically have, kind of like a micro mini doji there. So we'll see if the bears show up tomorrow and push it down, or if we just kind of have one more day of consolidation there, maybe even put in a weekly kind of doji look. Triple Qs we already talked about there. If we do break down, there should be some support around the 360 area. So 360, 363. And then if you get through that, there's a good pivot right here at 358, pivot high, pivot low. So we'll watch for that. And then again, obviously above 380 is definitely more of a bullish trigger there for the triple Qs. Dow here still holding up well. Again, blue chips here. We are in a slight more of a risk-off environment. Deltas, gammas are negative, so it's makes sense to see the Dow leading. And again, that is still holding the 20 moving average for now. Russell 2000, that is the red index here today, down about 35 basis points. Nothing crazy, nothing terrible, but we are making kind of lower lows now. So we just took out that little pivot. Very interested to see where this closes the week. A close below this green bar here at 191.14, like I've mentioned, would be definitely a sign of weakness for the Russell, as well as the 100 period moving average, right? Like supposedly this is a breakout, and to get back below that level, not a great sign of weakness, or great sign of strength there. Could have to go down and test 187, 185 if that happens. But again, Russell, that is the weak link here today. Semiconductors also on the softer side, down just 13 basis points, but again, in a market here that's green and now starting to go red a little bit. Take a look at NVIDIA today. That gapped down, right? Not much, but it gapped down in a market that, like the Qs were up 1% this morning when we gapped up. And the spiders were up, I think, like 0.5% or more. Dow was up 0.5% or more. Even the Russell was green when we opened. So NVIDIA is maybe starting to lose a little bit of steam. Again, we talked about the AI stuff starting to run out of gas. Just the SMCI that is getting a short-term bounce here, but that was a really big cut yesterday on their earnings. And again, I hate to say I told you so, but like, come on, like these AI chips. I think everybody knows that it's just like a bogus bid to fool the algos here at this point. It's not like their earnings are going to just explode in the next quarter just because they have these chips. It's going to take time, but we are seeing that kind of fatigue there. NVIDIA leading the semiconductors lower here. We'll see where we close the day. We are going to break that psychological 150 area, it looks like. So there should be some support. You got a little pivot here, 146, 145. Nice little area right there. And then again, you guys know I'm still looking for this one to go lower. Big trend line right there, big trend line right here. 100 moving average, and then I think it wants to get down to this gap eventually. But again, semiconductors on the weaker side, and that's generally a negative for the market and a negative for tech when we see that. IGV finally bouncing here. So it is going to hold this area here, but again, tomorrow, watch that level. A close below this white trend line here is a big negative for cloud software, big negative for tech, and a negative for the market. So bulls need to really hold that trend line there. That is 338.87. So watch that level going into tomorrow. I'm not I don't like doing this, but you could make a case you have a left shoulder here, and if this bounces up kind of into this trend line and puts in a right shoulder, it could break it, make a head and shoulder there, and could take you down to this trend line or even down here. But I never like entertaining those patterns until they've actually made a right shoulder. I see a lot of traders make that mistake. They think, oh, it bounces up here, let's short it. But you need to have the full right shoulder and use a trigger first. But either way, just kind of speculating there. But Cloud right now up 0.5%, finally getting a little bit of bounce. Dow transports are green as well. These continue to be strong, even though we closed below that breakout bar yesterday. We did reject the 20 moving average, but it is green in a down tape, still up 41 basis points in a market here that's kind of struggling to stay flat. Again, transport's hanging in there. You lose this area though. Again, 15.5, 15.6 is still the level to watch. That has not changed. All right, over here to excuse me, over here to interest rates again. 2-year holding up really well. Again, the big level there is 4.33. That's the effective funds rate. If you get above that, markets are in big time trouble. But right now, they're just in a big holding pattern. And again, it's a bullish pattern at that. There's the 5-year back above 4.2. 10-year knocking on that 4.1 door again. Nice pattern there. High. This just keeps making higher lows. So again, yields here stubbornly strong, and I expect them to remain that way for a long time. 30-year back to 4.25. Nice bullish inside bar there on the daily. That's looking to make a run at the highs. So again, yields are continuing to hold up despite kind of the talk that the Fed's going to be cutting rates. I don't know. There's a lot of mixed cross currents here. I'm just going with what the charts are saying. So anyways, XHB finally starting to show some weakness here. Hasn't taken out these pivots yet. And of course, it doesn't want to have too much downside all at once for XHB. I mean, it would be a crime. But again, kind of a rolling top type look here, potentially. I would prefer it to make a slight new high before doing that. But the ITB did do that. So again, I guess one of the two ETFs that tracks home builders did. Again, you need to lose this level here before you can have any more downside. Again, it's still holding up, still a really strong sector, but it does look very top heavy here. There's the ITB as well. You lose this, probably around 82, 82.50 there. Then if you get through that, we can talk about lower levels. But again, this is still look at this uptrend, very strong on those moving averages there. Very overbought, but very strong as well, so respect it. VNQ here on the weaker side, that is bear flagging. Again, we talked about this yesterday, down move inside, sideways to up. That's setting up for a move, I think, probably into the low 80s, maybe even 80 itself, maybe even down to 78. So REIT's still in trouble here. There is a good amount of support down here, so I'm very interested to see how it reacts there. But that is not a good look there on the daily. And again, we talked about that on the weekly. Weakness there. Closing back below that green bar, not a good sign there for VNQ. XLF here today, that is still managing to carve out a little bit of a gain here. We still have 30 minutes to go, but it's up 5 cents. Again, let's see if the market about to go red here again. But XLF hanging in there. Again, that can still get to 36, believe it or not. There's nothing really broken just yet. If the whole market comes down, then everything may get dragged down. But right now, that's acting well, and that can still move higher here. KRE still hanging in, so I don't see any problems here. You got an up move and you're consolidating sideways, so I don't see any issues when I see a pattern like that. And the same thing with the KBE and broker dealers here. A little bit of a kind of gravestone doji here, so that is showing a little bit of weakness. Originally it was looking for potentially a move to 530. It could still potentially get there here, but it's starting to look a little top heavy. Went up into that double top, we pierced it. Probably wants to go on and test 490 and that 50-day moving average there. Crude here, so on the commodities, that finally did back off. So I've been wondering when that was going to happen. I would have been shocked if we just broke through this and closed above this on the weekly, given that we're up like 20% already in the last month or so. But it did back off a little bit. To now it's still strong, down 2%. It's still very strong though. Who knows? Maybe we close back above it tomorrow. We could rally back up. Either way, you come down, you put in a higher low. It can still do it in a week or two. But again, that is the level to watch, 83.53. We get a weekly close above that, and then crude can squeeze up higher. Again, energy is still remaining very strong here. A little overbought. Does potentially need to do some backing and filling, but I don't see any problems here on the chart. Same thing with XLE. That is fractionally lower here, but there's no problems with that chart right there. XOP, that is overbought. That's the only issue I have with it. Again, pulling back a little bit today, down 1%. Again, we talked about that pivot, weekly pivot as well at 150. Red bar high, breakdown bar. We tested that. That's finally getting a little bit of a pullback there. And then OIH. This may have put in a short-term top, potentially, depending on where we close tomorrow. But it's still holding up really well, and I don't want to call it just yet. But it is down 73 basis points, but it's had a big move as well. Nat gas also pulling back. So that gave back a lot of those gains from yesterday. It was up again, like I said, with crude. This is up 20% in 5 days. Welcome to nat gas. So big move down there, but you had a nice move up. So we'll see. You do have a very big base here now to trade off of. So buyers have room to step in here. When we tested 3 the last time, there was no base. It just kind of was like a bounce. And then we just kind of came back down. So there's actually a base here for buyers. So we'll be seeing this over the next couple of days if this can kind of find its footing. If you can put in a higher low and attack 3 again, it's gonna pop through. So nat gas pulling back there as well. I would have been shocked again, just like crude. I would have been shocked if we just blew through that $3 handle without any resistance. So, anyways, dollar index here 102.60 close tomorrow. Again, you guys know the magic number. It's right there, 102.56. Spot 4 daily inside bar. I don't see any problems. You got a test candle here today, and you're inside of that. That could even break out tomorrow. That's actually not a terrible setup there for the dollar to go retest 103, 103.30. Again, but we'll watch that weekly close. That'll tell us a lot more. I'm not touching the dollar index right now until it gives me more kind of clarity here. But again, that's not a terrible pattern there on the daily. Gold also on the softer side, as you can imagine. That should get down to 1900. I'm not doing anything with it at the moment here. And then silver, a little bit on the weaker side. Did get a little bit of a bounce in this area. It's oversold. It does need to do some back end filling to the upside at the very least. Again, I still think this one has one more push down. Platinum trying to hold on to that 900 handle. Got a little bit of a bid there. Excuse me. Up, excuse me, up 2.25. We'll see. Maybe 940. Retest of the 20 and the 50. But I think it has one more drop in it. And I'll be waiting there. Palladium getting a nice pop here, up 5.36%. So that's showing a nice outside move. Kind of semi-interested in it right here. You do have a bit of a falling wedge. I still think it wants to have one more push down. You kind of see this down move and kind of weekly bear look there. So kind of like a bearish inside bar on the weekly. I would feel a lot better if you came down into this area. I mean, that's just a money shot right there. So, but right now getting a little bit of a bid, and we'll continue to watch it. Copper here down 82 bips. Again, 370s, your kind of near-term support. I don't like that wedge breakdown though, and I think it's going lower, as you guys know. Bitcoin just stuck at 24,400 as usual. So not much. Actually, 24,008. I was looking at the futures there. 24,008 right now. Again, nothing's changed here. A little bit of an inside move from the pop the other day. Weekly pattern is still good. I still like it. I don't really see any problems with that at the moment. So again, nothing to update there. Crypto market has been basically dead right now. All right, back over to the spiders here really quick. So again, yeah, we're back to negative here. So let's see. Again, tomorrow, let's see. If we can get a gap down, then I think this market can put in, some type of a bottom. I don't like this constantly gapping up type action. That's not what you want to see as a bull. You want to see them flush it down and give you a gap down. That's how you're going to V-shape. And the same thing with Apple. You look at this, it's gapped up the last 3 days in a row. That's not a sign of a bottom. That's a sign of bearish consolidation. You want to see a gap down, and then you can kind of V-shape. That's how it works. And I talked about this at the beginning of the week. I really wanted us to gap down on Tuesday, gap down and sell off for the first hour or two. That way you can V-shape the rest of the week. Could have been a good buy the dip opportunity, but the way we just keep going sideways like this, I just don't like it. It looks more like a bear base than anything. Could you buy the dip tomorrow if we gap down and flush? I think so. But any longer, we do this for another week, I would not buy dips until we, start getting oversold or getting to the next levels there. So that's kind of my analysis right now. The macro is a complete mess at the moment, but right now we're just going with the charts and, like we always do anyway. But again, watch that level tomorrow, the next couple of days, 50 MA, 440 on the spiders. If by some chance we start to rally back up and get above the 20 moving average, then you can go up and possibly try to fill that gap or at least get to the gap window. But right now, bears are in control and gamma and delta are negative. So just be aware of that. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.